want to show you guys a quick visualization tip you can use to help you lock in anything, your chord shapes, your arpeggios, your scales up and down the neck. In this case, we're going to do it with F major triads on the G, B, and high E string, so that top set of strings there. A lot of my students, when I ask them to play their F major triads, for example, they might do something like this. You know, maybe they get that first shape, but they're kind of guessing where the next two are, or they're not confident as to where those shapes are. So we want to find a way to be able to see all those shapes before playing them. There are a few steps to this, but once you get the hang of it, it's going to open up that neck because you're going to start seeing how everything relates on the guitar. So the first step is very important, and I always say this when practicing anything: see your root, locate your root. Everything that you learn relates to your root. If you don't know where your root is, you're kind of lost. So as long as you can find your root, you can keep your footing wherever you are. So in this first triad here, I have an F on my high E string. In this next triad here, I have an F on the B string. You'll hear those are the same note, right? My last triad, my F is now on the G string. Those are all F. So that's step one. Step two is to picture at least one bigger chord shape in that position that you're in. If you can see more than one, that's great. So for these major triad shapes, they relate very closely to your caged shapes. So you'll see here with this first one, that triad is already inside of this cage shape here. All right, it's the top three strings. This triad here is a part of this chord, your C shape in the cage system, and this triad is a part of your A shape in the cage system. So step three is finding a way to connect those triad shapes, knowing what we know now. So knowing where your root is, knowing some bigger chord shapes in that area. Now depending on what you're practicing, this might look a little bit different, but I like to personally see octaves as much as I can, especially with chord shapes. It can help a lot. So let me take a step back before we jump into that. I'm going to look at this bigger chord shape here. Remember how I said picture your roots? So when I'm playing this triad, I'm not only seeing this root, which is in the chord, I'm also seeing my other roots from that bigger chord shape, or any other roots in that area. The more you can see, the better. So in this case, I have a root also here and here. So those are all Fs, and those are all octaves apart, right? From here to here is an octave, and from here to here is an octave. So if you can start to get used to what octaves look like on the guitar, this will give you another visual to be able to connect these shapes as we move forward. So let's look at this first one. If I'm on the low E string here and I play a note, and I go across two strings and up two frets, that gives me an octave. Those are all octaves, right? We can also see that from the D string to the high E string, I'm going across three strings and down two frets, right? So these are all octaves. So those shapes work on other strings as well, but we have to make a minor adjustment if we're working with this B string. The B string kind of throws it off because the distance between the G and B string is only a third, or the distance between all the other strings is a fourth. So if I'm on the D string and I try that across two strings and up two frets octave trick from down here, brings me to an E, which is not quite an octave, right? I need to move that note up just one extra half step to give me my octave. So if you're on the D string, you have to go across two strings and up three frets, not two frets. Same thing applies when you're on the G string. If you're on the low E or the A, it's just across two strings, up two frets. On the D and the G, it's across two strings, up three frets, okay? So bringing that back into our triads, how is that useful? So when I'm going from this triad to this triad, I need to find a way to connect those. So that first triad shape, when I'm playing it, in the back of my head, I'm visualizing this entire chord. Even though I'm just playing this shape, I'm still seeing in the back of my head all these notes. So if I'm picturing that full shape, what I'm also seeing is my other roots, right? I'm seeing my root here, and here, and here. So even when I'm just playing this triad shape, I'm going to picture this root, because that's going to help me find my next triad shape, even though I'm never even playing the D string. So check this out. Remember we saw an octave from this note was up here on the B string? And that F right there is the F that's included in this second triad shape. So now when I'm going from that first triad to the second triad, In the back of my head, I'm actually seeing this movement here, even though I'm not even playing that note on the D string. So see if you can picture that. Try playing this triad, and then this triad, but in the back of your head, while you're playing this triad, try to picture your full cage shape here. See that that gives you an F right here. And from there, try to see that visualizing this note will help you see where your root is in the next triad, right? And that way you won't have to guess, where's that F, right? You'll know right away. It's gonna be right there. So let's do this with this shape going to the next shape. It's gonna look a little different. We have to find another trick to help us see the relationship between this and this. So again, I'm gonna see my bigger shape. So this is part of the C shape moved up, right? And here I'm just gonna see where my other roots are. So I have a root here, we already saw. And I also have a root right here. Here's another F with my pinky. So even when I'm just playing this shape, in the back of my head I want to see this full cage shape, or at least where another root is. In this case it's here. So this shape is a part of this chord, right? And you'll notice in this chord I have a root here and here. So check it out, that root on the A string is being shared with those two shapes, right? Here I'm playing it with my pinky, and here I'm playing it with my index. So even that alone should help you see this triad going to the next triad. Because when I'm playing this triad, again, I'm seeing this full shape in the back of my head, even though I'm not playing that. When I'm playing this triad, I'm seeing this full shape, even though I'm not playing that, right? If you want to take it a step further, you can see that an octave from here, yes, we know there's one here, but there's also an octave here, right? Cross two strings, up 2 frets. And that is the root of my triad here. After that, you're back to the first shape, up here. And the reason I know it's there is because I can see my root here from this triad. I know an octave up from here, cross 2 strings, up 3 frets, right? Because I'm on the G string. There's my root. I know for this shape, my root was on the high E string, right? You can also see that the 12th fret is an octave above your open string, so that means this was like your first fret kind of. Just up an octave. So that's basically it. You can do this with any string set, any triad shapes. You can do it with arpeggios to help you see how your arpeggios connect to one another. Scales, same thing. It's not going to sink in overnight, but the more you do it, the more you'll start to make these connections and reiterate your knowledge of where everything is on the guitar. And the great thing about this is you can just add it into whatever else you're practicing. So all it is really just taking that extra step to see where your roots are, where your bigger shapes are, and how they all connect to each other. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, leave a comment so I can keep making videos for you guys. And if you really want to master all your chords up and down the neck and make all these connections, check out my Ultimate Chord Mastery guitar course. I'll leave the link in the description along with the discount code for you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.